With a tagline like Herbert West has a very good head on his shoulders, and another one in a dish on his desk, it's no wonder that gorehounds adore Stuart Gordon's 1985 film Reanimator. This clever horror comedy is loaded with gruesome special effects, features a classic ensemble cast, and is still one of the best films inspired by the works of noted horror author H.P. Lovecraft. Join me as we take an in-depth look at this cult classic in today's Horror Geek Review. Welcome back, Gore Geeks. I'm Mike Bracken, better known as the Horror Geek. Are you tired of wasting your time on terrible horror movies? Then you've come to the right place. I'll guide you through the darkest corners of horror film history, helping you find great flicks while also avoiding a whole bunch of crap. If you dig this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more horrific reviews and features, and click the annoying little bell button to get updates whenever I post new content. And now, with all that crap out of the way, let's get bloody. Based very loosely on H.P. Lovecraft's horror story, Herbert West Reanimator, Reanimator tells the tale of Herbert West. Go figure. Cult icon Jeffrey Combs plays West, a young scientist obsessed with the idea of defeating death and bringing the dead back to life. As the film opens, Herbert's working in Switzerland with Dr. Hans Gruber. No, not that Hans Gruber.
You're very perceptive.
This Hans Gruber. The duo is working on an experiment to revive the dead, and as you can see here, things aren't really going all that well. Herbert then finds himself at Miskatonic University, where he moves in with Dan Kane, played by Bruce Abbott.
Hi. Can I help you? You're here about the apartment. Yes.
And hopes to continue his research. He also meets Dr. Carl Hill, and needless to say, the two don't exactly hit it off.
Frankly, Dr. Hill, your work on brain death is outdated.
Seems pretty safe to say these two won't be sharing friendly working lunches over corpses in the morgue anytime soon. Dan becomes Herbert's more handsome version of Igor after discovering that his cat Rufus has died under suspicious circumstances.
You couldn't call or write a note.
I was busy pushing bodies around, as you well know, and what would a note say, Dan? Cat dead, details later.
Hey, Herbert's an odd duck, but he's got a point here. Armed with his neon green reagent, he attempts to revive Dan's cat with less than stellar results.
Don't expect it to tango. It has a broken back.
It seems that while West can indeed bring the dead back to life, they're revived as hyper-aggressive zombies instead of human beings.
With the higher animals and the consequent increased strength of the solution, reaction has become more violent.
Detail schmeetails. He still brought the dead back to life. Let's not lose focus here and lose sight of the bigger picture. You gotta break a few pencils to make... Look, I don't know where I was going with this.
You have derailed.
Shut up, Richard.
Anyway, armed with this new data, West concludes that the problem is that these bodies have been dead too long. He needs fresher meat in order to reanimate a corpse and have it retain its human personality. How convenient is it that Herbert and Dan have access to the morgue?
Burn victim. Here's your meatball.
West and Kane's work doesn't go unnoticed, though. It seems that their instructor, Dr. Hill, the late great David Gale, is onto them, and he wants to steal their discovery, claiming it,
I want your discovery.
and Dan's girlfriend, the always excellent Barbara Crampton,
What is wrong with him, Doctor? Will he ever be...
Until we know exactly what happened to him, there's no way to determine his course of recovery.
or himself. I suppose we should probably put a spoiler warning here, although Reanimator came out in 1985, so I feel like the statute of limitations on spoilers has probably expired by this point. But if you've never seen it and you're really spoiler obsessed, mute the volume and turn away for a minute. Are the rest of you guys still here? Good. There's no way Herbert's going to allow Hill to steal his work, so he lops Hill's head off with a shovel and then reanimates it for good measure.
I've never done whole parts.
Bad move, because while Hill is Herbert's most successful experiment to date, he's also the good doctor's most dangerous adversary.
It's going to be a pleasure to fail you.
Alright, you spoiler phobes, you can come back now. I'm done with the plot breakdown. Reanimator stands as one of the most entertaining horror comedies of all time. While the finished film is something of a parody of Lovecraft's work, which is interesting because Lovecraft's Herbert West stories were themselves a parody of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, it's never dismissive of the source material. Instead, Gordon and producer Brian Yuzna have crafted a hilariously loving homage to the author's work. It's ground they'd return to again, as Yuzna would direct 1989's Bride of Reanimator, as well as 2003's Beyond Reanimator, and Gordon would explore more Lovecraftian nightmares in From Beyond, Dagon, Castle Freak, and more. Much of Reanimator's success lies squarely on the shoulders of Jeffrey Combs. The actor's comedic timing and deadpan delivery are pitch perfect.
We get caught. Oh, well, what will they do? Embalm us?
This was the role that would really launch Combs' career. West gets many of the film's best lines, including this classic with Dr. Hill.
You'll never get credit for my discovery. Who's going to believe a talking head? Get a job in a sideshow.
The chemistry between Combs and actor David Gale is equally noteworthy. Gale's Hill is a great screen villain. He's the rich academic professor of pretty much every 80s college comedy, only way creepier.
To me, my esteemed colleagues, capable, beautiful, loving daughter.
Yikes, Dr. Hill. She's young enough to be your daughter. All of these great performances are only accentuated by Reanimator's special effects. 1985 was a bit of a mini renaissance for gory American zombie cinema, with George Romero's Day of the Dead and Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead releasing alongside this film. Reanimator falls more in line with Return of the Living Dead as far as the gore is concerned, with effects designed to make the audience laugh and gag at the same time. The late Joe Pilato may have screamed at zombies to choke on his ripped-out intestines in Romero's Day of the Dead, but in Reanimator, it actually happens. Yeah, sorry, Dr. West is a little tied up today. You're gonna have to reschedule your colonoscopy. Want to wow your friends next time you sit down to watch Reanimator? Then you probably need a life. I'm kidding. Share some of these film facts with them and blow them away with your cult movie trivia mastery. Did you know that the bodybuilder zombie Herbert and Dan reanimate on their first foray into the morgue was actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double? Of course you did. Everyone knows that. Peter Kent was Schwarzenegger's stunt double for years during the Governator's reign as the king of the box office. But that didn't stop him from doing some of his own projects, like this bit in Reanimator. Did you know that David Gale had to wear a toupee while making the film? No, that terrible looking thing on his head isn't the corpse of Rufus the dead cat.
Shut up.
It's a hairpiece. Gale had a full head of hair, but Reanimator had such a tiny production budget that Gale was forced to shave his head and wear the rug. Why, you may ask? So that his character's hair would match the fake hair on his prosthetic head in the film's FX sequences. If that wasn't humiliating enough, Gale's wife actually left him after he shot the scene where Dr. Hill attempts to molest Barbara Crampton with his severed head. According to Stuart Gordon, Gale's wife shouted, "David, how could you?" and then stormed out. The marriage was pretty much over after that. Did you know that Reanimator has spawned 2 sequels, a musical, and was almost a television series? Twice? Director Stuart Gordon originally conceived the story as a television series, but eventually turned it into a film when he was told there was no market for horror on television. In 2009, the idea rose from the dead when news broke that a newer, younger, hipper Reanimator was in development for television. It was basically pitched as Buffy the Vampire Slayer set in the Reanimator universe, with a sexy, young, and dangerous Herbert West starring. Someone christened it Miskatonic 90210, which is probably more brilliant than anything we'd have seen in the show. Needless to say, it never actually happened. And there you have it, movie maniacs, my thoughts on Stuart Gordon's Reanimator. It's no lie to say they don't make them like this anymore, and that makes me sad. If you were lucky enough to grow up in the 80s, when video stores had shelves overflowing with all kinds of crazy horror films like this, then you can probably relate to my sorrow. Don't fret too much though, because Reanimator is available on Blu-ray and streaming, so it's pretty easy to track down. And it's well worth tracking down if you've never seen it. This is a cult classic for a reason. It delivers laughs and screams in equal measure, so be sure to check it out. It gets the Horror Geek seal of approval, which doesn't actually exist. Maybe we should make one. If you dug this video, be sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to build an unstoppable army of gore geeks, and I need all the soldiers I can get. Oh, and follow me on social media. What's that? You don't know where the links are? Psst, they're down below. Now make with the clicking. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, reminding you...
Well, sometimes that is better.
Damn it, Fred Gwynn. I thought I told you to knock it off in the Pet Cemetery video. Just cut it. I'm done. That's a wrap.